Hello, welcome to Broken Mind and Growing Confidence, the podcast with funding from the National Lottery and the government. I'm Claire from Positive Life Workshops. I am a guide and a healer. I help people who have struggled with anxiety and depression, who want to start living that more positive life. This week I'm talking about allergies. So I've got a dairy allergy and my son has a gluten and dairy allergy. If you listened to the last episode about my pregnancy, you will realise that I had quite a difficult pregnancy and I lost quite a lot of weight while I was pregnant. When I started to get back to normal and started eating again, I started to get a lot of anxiety. It was quite difficult to go from not eating to starting eating again. So the anxiety was around what kind of foods I was going to have, whether someone was going to give me loads of food and I didn't want loads of food, and whether the food was going to make me ill. So unknowingly, I had a dairy allergy and I thought that I had really, really bad anxiety. So I was waking up every morning feeling sick, heart racing, in the process of being in the post-traumatic stress from the pregnancy sickness. I was being sick again every morning and my mind was racing and wondering, so am I pregnant? What's causing this? Why am I feeling sick? I felt so anxious that I thought that my anxiety had just kind of taken over my life and that was it for me. I was going to be living in that constant anxiety forever, feeling sick all the time and having that something controlling me because I wasn't enjoying life. I wasn't doing what I wanted to be doing because I couldn't, because I felt sick all the time and I felt my heart was racing all the time. I was in a panic. I was in the fight or flight mode all the time. Now, when on my birthday, I'm not quite sure what year it was, a couple of years ago, we decided to go for a cream tea in Preston. This is not something that I would normally do, but it was my birthday, so we decided to get in the car and to go and have a nice afternoon tea. We had a beautiful day looking around Preston and all the shops, and then we had our afternoon tea. Within I hadn't even finished eating my clotted cream scone, which was really, really tasty. But I hadn't even finished eating it when my stomach started and I had to go to the toilet, and then that was basically it. Alarm bell started ringing, and I kind of, the last year of my life flashed before my eyes, and I realised that it was dairy and the cream that was making me feel this way, and it was the things that I was eating that were making me feel sick, that was making me anxious. So I was anxious because I was feeling sick, because of the stress of being sick for 9 months that brought on the anxiety, because I was waking up every morning feeling sick. So it just took me right back to that 9 months of being sick. And because I actually felt sick as well, it really didn't help. So I carried on living like this until I realised with the scone and cream, I had the scone and cream, and within minutes I had to go to the toilet, and then that was it. I just wanted to go home. I felt sick, I wanted to be in bed. So we got in the car, managed to drive back. So we drove back from Preston to St Helens feeling sick. There's only me drives. I had to drive to the point where I had to stop 3 times on the motorway to be sick on the way home, and just got home and I felt like death. And then everything kind of fell into place. I realised that everything that I was eating with dairy in was causing me to feel sick, which was making me feel anxious, and which was a never-ending cycle. And I'd had my son, and my son had gluten and dairy allergies, so I knew what I needed to do. But to cut out dairy from your life is a massive step. But I've never been able to diet all my life, never. So when I was bigger, I wasn't able to stick to a diet and to lose weight. I didn't have the mindset and the focus, but I weren't happy for reasons I've spoke about in other podcasts. But once I kind of realised that my whole life was being destroyed just because I was eating one thing that was causing it, it was enough to allow me to want to make those changes. And I literally cut out every single piece of dairy you could consider, to the point where I mainly eat vegan now. I've got chicken, so I have the egg, but a lot of my meals are vegan, and it's made a huge change to my life, a massive change. So what we put into our body is what we get out of our body. So if we're putting all these junk foods and takeaways and ready meals and processed foods into our body, we're not going to feel good. We're never going to feel good. And when you look at it, and probably not a good thing to do if you really like milk, but if you kind of look into what's in milk and what they allow and things like that, it does kind of put you off. But when it makes you physically sick, it's quite easy to start cutting it out. And when you realise that when you cut it out, that your life changes so dramatically that you're not being sick and you don't feel anxious anymore, and that it allows you to kind of start, you're not worrying every morning that you're going to wake up feeling sick. Am I going to start feeling ill today? And it's what we put into our bodies. It makes a difference. So you might not have an allergy, but do you consider these things that you put into your body? Do you consider the food that you eat, where it comes from? Is it natural? Has it had any trauma to it? So I don't eat any meat, and that's not for reasons that a lot of vegans don't eat meat for. It's because I don't enjoy meat, and to put something in my body that has gone through that suffering and that trauma right at the end of its life is not something that I want to do. And when you kind of start looking into these things, you start thinking about it a bit more. I did an episode about natural living, so I'm thinking about the products that I'm putting on my body and the things that I'm using in my skincare routine. But then I'm still eating all these things that I don't know what's in them. I don't know where they come from. Well, a lot of us do. I admit I've been quite a fussy eater for most of my life, and I'm very specific about what I like and what I don't like. And I don't like processed foods. I never have done. And that's just because I've been brought up not to eat processed foods. Whereas if we're brought up to eat processed foods, it's a bigger step to step away from that type of thing. And having allergies has kind of allowed me to do that without the struggle of it all, because it was a benefit to me to change my diet. The change of diet changed my life. So when I worked for the NHS, I got put on night shifts, and I had a bowl of cereal just before I went in for my first shift. So I slept a little bit in the day to get ready for the night shift. I got up, had some cereal, and then went to work. But I had cereal with milk on, so it's before I started to cut everything out. So I had cereal with milk on, and then by the time I got to work, I wasn't in any fit state to work. So I was in that state of feeling sick, feeling anxious, feeling worried. It was the fight or flight mode, and I just wanted to hide. It was the fight, flight, or freeze, and I wanted to freeze and do nothing and just kind of stay there. And one of the nurses ended up ringing me a taxi to take me home, and I didn't want that. I wanted to just kind of lie there till I was all right and then to take my car home. It made it a massive situation for me to have to get back to work for my car. It's not what I wanted. And then when I did actually go back into work after I started to feel a bit better, after my reaction had gone away and after I'd started to cut out the dairy, then I kind of got in trouble for going home in a taxi. And it's like, that wasn't my decision to do that. And that was the staff nurse's decision who was in charge at the time. And that was what she felt most appropriate. So it's kind of these things, they all open your eyes to what's going on around and in the workplace and things like that, and understanding of things. And once you kind of start to change, it was a challenge because people don't understand the severity of it. So even if you make a cup of tea and then stir my black coffee with your spoon that's been in your milk, that is going to cause some sort of reaction for me. And yeah, it might not be a severe reaction where I'm out in bed and throwing up, but it is still going to make me feel uncomfortable, which will make me start feeling sick, which will make me anxious, and then it falls into that cycle. So once we take these things away and we start to look about what kind of things we're putting into our body. So I know at the moment, I pretty much eat vegan. And as I said, I eat eggs as well because I've got my own chickens. But I still eat a lot of sugar. And that's probably one of my downfalls at the moment, is the sugar side of things. But I've cut out so much in my diet that you have to allow yourself these little treats, and it's quite important to allow yourself these things that you enjoy. And when you cut out things out of your diet, it's finding things to replace them, and it's quite difficult. So I used to eat bars and bars of chocolate, milk chocolate all the time. In fact, the Marvelous Creations with the jelly beans and the bits and pieces in was my favourite, and I could eat a big bar a night easily. I'd go to the shop and buy 4 chocolate bars in the morning, and they'd get eaten while I was driving around in the car and going here, there and everywhere. I wouldn't even bat an eyelid that I was eating all this stuff and it was really bad for me, because I enjoyed it and it made me feel good. But once it started not making me feel good, it allowed me to step away from it. So it's having a reason. So if you're eating things and your body's telling you that it's not right, it's finding out what it is and looking after yourself. So I know a lot of people who suffer from IBS and things like that, and people in my family, but then they'll post on Facebook, oh, I had this such and such thing for my tea tonight. And then the day after, they'll be moaning, oh, I don't feel well, I'm not feeling great. But they know that that's because they've eaten that, but they'll still eat it again the week after. And it's wanting to make these changes in our life to make ourselves feel better. It's important that we consider what we're putting into our body, because what we put into our body we get out. So if we're putting loads of chemicals and genetically modified stuff into our body, I can't even imagine what we're going to be getting out. Not very much. You're probably going to be feeling unmotivated, depressed, down, confused, not sure what you're doing with your life, not probably don't have any insight into what would make you happy. And it's taking these things away from us, what we put into our lives, allow us to kind of find out these things, what does make us happy. And it like opens our eyes, because we're not feeling so rubbish, because we're not putting the badness inside us. And when we put the bad things inside us, we concentrate on the bad things and the focus is the bad things. Whereas when we put good things inside us, which is our food, fruit, vegetables, plant-based foods, things that haven't been through any suffering, harm or pain, when we kind of go down that direction, that's the way our life goes. And it is what we put in, we get out, and it's very important. And having allergies is the only thing that has actually allowed me to realise that and understand that. And it's like someone gave me something so that could find out what a difference it would make to my life, because it has. Taking just dairy on my diet has made a huge difference in my life. And that was a stepping stone towards stopping eating meat and starting to be a bit more adventurous in the kitchen. Well, Kev started to be a bit more adventurous in the kitchen, because that's Kev's area of expertise in our house. He's the one who likes to cook for everybody. Sometimes we have to give ourselves that power to know that it is okay to check and double check, and to make sure we get what we want, to make sure that we're putting into our bodies what we want, because what other people want and what we want are not always the same things, and it's quite important. And it's only having allergies that has made me kind of consider these things. If I didn't have allergies, I would probably still be living how I was previously. But it's even allowed Kev to realise that it's the things that he's eating that's causing different problems. So sometimes if we're eating things and it's upsetting our stomach, we're going to get angry and annoyed. We're going to get irritable. We're going to get the consequence of what we've done to ourselves. And sometimes it's working out what's causing that consequence. What's causing us to be irritable and angry and annoyed? Is it because it's something that you ate yesterday or the day before that's giving you this feeling in your stomach that's making you feel a bit rubbish, and then that's making you feel annoyed? It's finding what it is and discovering it. And sometimes it's like our thoughts. What we think about, we get, and what we put into our body, we get. And it is the natural side of life allows us to step away from all the chemicals and all the chaos and the madness of things that weren't actually, if we go back in time, they weren't ever here before. So if we can kind of stick to our roots and knowing what we know, I know back in the caveman days they ate meat and things like that, but it is, if we can kind of stick to being natural and enjoying that natural life, allowing us to eat in a more beneficial way for our bodies, and allowing us to look after ourselves in a way that other people sometimes struggle to do. But when you can see a massive benefit, so when you're not having reactions from something that you're eating, that's when you see a massive benefit, and that's when you're going to make more effort to not eat those things. Whereas when you're not understanding what it's causing, and you don't understand that it's the food that you're eating that's causing you to feel like that, then you don't really know, you're not empowered enough to step away from it. And it's discovering what's doing what and what's going on. And it might not be an allergy, it might just be something you're eating that just doesn't fit with your energy, and it's drawing you down, and it's making you feel horrible and rubbish and depressed and sluggish and unmotivated. And it's the things we're putting into our bodies. Thanks for listening to Broken Mind and Growing Confidence. Find us on Facebook at Positive Life Workshops. Come and join our Facebook group, Broken Mind and Growing Confidence, or the Ladies Wellbeing Group. Our anxiety course will be live soon. If you're looking to improve your confidence, if you're interested in any healing, card readings, having problems with anxiety or your own confidence, feel free to give me a message. Thanks for listening. We'll be here again next Thursday. Goodbye.